Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hopefully this will be a relatively short video for you today. Bringing in the new Sim Update 9. I've downloaded the new SDK, which I believe is 1.18.0.0, I think, if I remember what the number was, but I think that's what it is, 18. Anyway, I knew this before Sim Update 9 was coming out, that there was going to be some changes, slight changes to how the build process builds the XMLs for the scenery. Okay. So I know that there's a lot of concerns about this update in terms of the SDK. And there's just one that I'm going to talk about today so I don't take too much of your time. But if you remember when you create your scenery, all right, you go into the editor, and I'm going to do that in this video just so you can see it. But you go in, you have your file structure set up. So here I have 5 Alpha 1 airport. It's my experimental airport, my home little tiny airport that I test a bunch of stuff with. There's not much to it. There's a runway and a couple buildings, but anyway, I use it for my guinea pig. All right, so you guys know the structure. You have your main project, 5 Alpha 1 here, and then you have your package definitions and you have your package sources. Those are the two main folders that you have when you first create your airport or your scenery. Okay, this is a simple scenery example, all right, not an airport, even though it is an airport. But I digress. Anyway, the main directories or folders that you have when you create your airport are package definitions and package sources, and I showed you how to set those up in previous videos, plus Flying Theston did, Benny Boy 444 did. I mean, most of the scenery designers, Frederico has done it. Everybody that does scenery has done a video on setting up the folder structure. Okay, nothing has changed. All right, we're good there. The only thing that right now that is concerning for people is in the package sources in your scene folder. All right, okay, so this is a copy of my 5 Alpha 1 for Sim Update 8, meaning anything prior to Sim Update 9 is what that means. All right, if you go into the scene folder in your package sources, you remember you have a scene file, which is the XML, all right, and you also have a shape file or a series of shape files. Okay, this is an ESRI shapefile. ESRI is Environmental Systems Research Institute, who makes geographic information systems software. All right, I'm a cartographer, so that's a GIS. All right, and this company invented the shapefile. All right, and it's basically a geometric file, and it has the dot shape, which is the actual geometry, and it has a DBF, which is the attributes of each geometry. All right, and then it has a SHX file, which is an index that ties these two files together. All right. Shapefiles have been around for almost 25 years now, maybe going on 30. All right, so I've been working with shapefiles forever. But anyway, Microsoft Flight Simulator had adopted, when it first came out, using shapefiles, GIS type of files, to keep the brains of the geography of your scenery. Okay, now here's the change. All right, since update 9, And it's not the sim update 9 that caused this change. It's the SDK 1.18 that has made the change. You no longer have to create a shapefile. All right. Actually, it's kind of like in the background. You don't really have to do anything to create the shapefile to begin with other than give it a name. All right. The shapefiles are no longer being used in Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right. People might think that that's alarming, but I've tested it and it has no adverse effects that I have seen with any of my scenery, just so you know. So I have a whole bunch of airports that I've done, and I've gone in and I've rebuilt them using the new SDK, and it has deleted the shape files. All right, anything that goes with the shapefile, the DBF, the SHP, the SHX, and the XML for the shape. All right. And what you get now is, now let me bring this up to you. All right. The normal user would not be able to, you could open up the DBF in Excel or some Access database or something like that to take a look at it. But there's really no other way without using geographic information software such as QGIS or ArcGIS or some other GIS software out there to actually view the shapefile. All right, it's not really a common everyday user file that they can open other than the DBF. You can open this in Excel or whatever and take a look at the contents. All right, but this has all gone away. All right, so when you create your airport and when you make that polygon around your airport for the first time, and then you save your project in the editor for the first time, it asks you two questions. It asks you to name your scenery file, and that's where my 5 alpha 1 SCN came from. Okay, and I just called it this for scene for short. Now I use the word scene. Okay, then it asks you a second question, and that is to name your shapefile. Okay, and that's why I put SHP on there. All right, just so you know, when you create a polygon for the first time that you set up your project, it no longer asks you about the shapefile. Okay, because something happens automatically now. It writes the coordinates of all the vertexes that you created for your polygons. It writes it now to the scenery XML. Okay, so the DBF and the shapefile is no longer used. Now, if you created an airport, I mean, if you've edited a previous airport that you've worked on and you build it, it automatically takes the polygon and writes the data for that polygon into the scene file, the XML, and it deletes your shapefile. All right? Don't be alarmed, okay? Because your data that made that polygon, all it has done is nested it into the XML format for Flight Simulator. And to be honest with you, I think people are concerned about it, but I believe that it is more efficient that that data is all in one place rather than trying to link to another file. And then it writes all that information to your Bugle file, your BGLs. All right, so let's take a look real quick. Do I have one up? Yeah, let's take a look. And I have an airport, one of my prime airports that I've published. Now this is my experimental airport. We're going to come down here to my Mansfield LAM, which is Mansfield, Ohio airport. And let's take a look at the package sources for the one prior to SU9. And you notice it has the shape in there, and it has the scene. Okay, the scene XML, and then that has all the shapes. Okay, now remember the shapefile you couldn't really see with any standard software other than the DBF. But what Microsoft Flight Simulator did prior to was write that information to a shape.xml, okay? And then you can view the information, all right? So if I right click the shape XML and I open up that with Notepad++, you're seeing the shape attributes, such as the excluding the tin, your vegetation stuff. But if you notice that there is no geometry to this, there's no XY coordinates. That's why it needed, that's why it needed the shapefile. Okay, but you couldn't view it unless you had some GIS software. All right. Now, what they have done is let's back up a little bit and let's open up the scene file prior to SU9. So I have it already open. I'm sorry. So let's open that up. Let's get rid of the XML shape, and I think there's two of them in here. Yeah. Okay. So this one is this MFD scene XML is prior to SU9, and all it used to keep in the scene XML was all the different objects that you added to your scenery, such as fences, buildings, terminals, trees. Any object that you added to your scene was written to the MFD, well, not MFD, but whatever your airport is, scene.xml. All right. Now, after the update, SU9, it now combines the shapefile with the scene XML. So if you notice right here, we have a XML tag for polygon, and it has all the attributes of the polygon, which used to be written to that shape.dbf file, and the shape XML, all the characteristics of excluding tins and vegetation and all that kind of stuff. But you notice now it also has these vertex tags, and those are the coordinates of your polygon as you're digitizing. Okay, so that is the big difference right now. All right, and I have not seen any adverse effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and what I've done is I've gone into my 5 Alpha 1 airport. Here's the one that I had prior to SU9. Okay, and you already saw that. It has the shapefile in it. Now I've gone into 5 Alpha 1 and gone into the scene folder, and I've deleted everything. All right, I've deleted everything in the scene folder, so it's like it's a brand new project. All right, now I'm going to pause, open up the editor, and kind of show you what happens. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm in the sim, and I'm going to go to the project editor, project, open project, and we are going to go to 5 Alpha 1 and select the XML and open that up. All right, I'm going to try to bring my picture back up, but it may freeze, and there's a reason. I know why it freezes, but yeah, there we go for now. I know you guys don't really care to see my ugly mug, but anyway, picture freezes, and that's because I'm recording the video in 60 frames per second, but if I put that at 25 frames per second, it doesn't freeze, but you lose some of the quality of the video. Not that you really care about seeing me anyway. All right, so anyway, we open 5 alpha 1 in the editor, and we're going to select the bugle or BGL and open that in the editor. And this is just like we're opening a brand new project for the first time. All right, now what I'm going to do is, I know that they fixed some things with rotating and stuff, which is, I'm so happy about that. It doesn't jump on me anymore. All right, so what I'm going to do is, so this is what the scene would look like when you first open your project. There's nothing in there. You got default buildings and stuff like that. But usually the first thing that you do when you create scenery is you want to add a polygon, and you want the airport polygon is basically kind of what you're creating. So I'm going to go to polygon in my objects, and I'm going to add. And then I'm going to hold down my left control key. Now I'm not going to do this perfect, but I hold my left control key and I left mouse click and add points along the edge of my airport. It goes on the other side of the little road there, and then there's a farmer field. Okay, so like I said, I'm not doing this perfect, but I'm just drawing a quick polygon around the airport. And we're gonna go, it actually does go across the road, but you guys get what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm just drawing the boundaries of my airport property, and I click here and I click here. Now I'm going to hit enter. So now I have my polygon around my airport, and if I right click, do properties, and I go to buildings and exclude all, so no default buildings draw, and I don't want any vegetation in there right now, so I'm going to turn all these down. Okay, so now I have my polygon for my airport and the attributes set. Okay, now before, so we added a polygon prior to SU9. It would ask, when I do a save, it would ask me two questions. The first question is the name of the scenery file, right? And that is where I'd go into package sources, go into scene, and I would type in the name, so 5 alpha 1, and then I would put the word scene. Okay, and then I would hit save. But since I made a polygon prior to SU9, it would ask me a second question, and that would be the name of the shape file. Okay, and I would type in 5 alpha 1 shape, okay, or SHP, whatever I wanted to call it. All right, but now, since after update 9, when I do a save, it doesn't ask me that second question for the shapefile. Okay, then you just build. All right, so I usually go to console, and I go ahead and clear out my console, close that, go to the inspector, and oops, go to the project up here. Then I go to this inspector, and then I build my project. All right, now I got 11 skipped, 1 done, 0 failed, which is good. All right, then I would get out of the editor and close the project editor, and then get out of the sim. All right, so as it gets out of the sim, I'm going to pause and be right back. Okay, we're out of the sim, we're back in. Now notice it has written a brand new scene XML for 5 alpha 1, and if I right click on that and open that in Notepad++, okay, you notice that I have a polygon XML tag with all of the attributes. Okay, so here's where we clicked all of our attributes for the polygon when we did the properties of the polygon, and then it stores the latitude and longitude of every vertice that I put into the project. Okay, so no big concerns. Don't be too concerned about your shapefile disappearing. All right, it's normal now. They have combined the shapefile into the XML scene file of your airport. Now, what's really cool about this, and what I like about this, is since I'm a geographer, a cartographer, I have direct access to the coordinates of any polygons that I add to my scenery. This does not affect aprons or anything like that. It's only polygons that you add. Now, you're going to have to test some things later on, see if anything goofy goes on, but I have not noticed that in any of my airports. The only thing is I don't have to worry about a shapefile anymore. All right, so I hope this kind of gives you some comfort on one of the changes with the SDK. The one thing that you need to know is if you build your projects outside of the sim using the fs package tool.exe, it does not combine the shapefiles with the scene XML. The only time that it does this combination is if you build inside of the scenery editor like I just did. Okay, so if you drag and drop your scenes, drag and drop your project XML onto the FS package tool, it does not combine these. But as soon as you do a build inside the sim, it does. Okay, I know that's goofy. They have not updated the code to the exe, the FS package tool exe. It's the same one we've been using for probably about a year now. Well, they updated it in November or December 2021. Okay, but that was prior to SU9. All right, so there may be an FS package tool update later on, but it has not done it. They have not done it yet. Okay, so I'm imagining that if they do that, it will combine the shapefile and the XML together, the scene XML together later on. But right now, if you build outside the simulator, usually what I do is, that's what I do, it will not combine the two. But if you build inside the editor, it will combine the two. Does that make sense? I know that's... But anyway, I usually build outside when I add a new building or something, but eventually I'm inside the sim doing some ground textures and stuff, and then I build inside the sim for that stuff. So just know, if you build inside the sim, your shapefile goes away and it combines it with the scenery XML, which is not a bad thing. All right, it's efficient. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to my really drab videos, and thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you all who have been buying me cups of coffee at buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. You guys are fantastic, and when I come up with a new quirkiness of the SDK, I will definitely bring it up to you in a video. And I will see you guys on the next one. We'll see you guys later.